Welcome to the channel, guys. We are back again, and today I'm going to be doing Big Beard Business's challenge, 10 best fragrances for men, one from each category, so stay tuned for that. And if you like the content, guys, hit that like and subscribe button. I really do appreciate it. This was a tag series that Big Beard Business designed himself. I think one of his followers gave him this suggestion, if I recall correctly, and he essentially gave a open tag to all reviewers. Definitely decided that I would take part in this video series. So the idea is to pick one fragrance from each style of fragrance and pick the absolute best one for men. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first one is oud fragrances. I'm not the hugest oud fan, but I do like oud when it's nice and wearable. I'm not really the kind of guy who likes a lot of skanky and animalic type of scents, although I do like some of them. So when I was picking this one, I went with something that I think is quite wearable, very masculine, very professional, classy, powerful feeling, and it probably comes as no surprise to anyone who's been watching my channel for a while, because that is Blackmail by Kerosene. This to me reminds me a little bit of oud wood, although it definitely doesn't smell the same. It just has a similar style of oud in it, and there is something in it that gives it a bit of a spicy quality with that incense. It's very smoky, and the smokiness comes across almost like it's burning, so there is a little bit of what comes across to my nose as spiciness. So it does remind me a little bit of oud wood in that regard, and the wood that they use, the oud that they use, I think is the same or very similar, because it does have a similarity there. However, the similarities really do stop there. This one also has gorgeous dried fruits in it, which gives it a nice sweet touch, balances out and rounds out this fragrance, also makes it much more mass appealing. You know, this isn't the most mass appealing fragrance because it is quite heavy on the incense and is oudy, but it's not skanky or animalic. It's very classy, very professional. This is one that I think smells like a lot of money, because it is a quality fragrance and it does smell really good. Performance is also very good on this one. I do get a long time, around 10 hours with this one. Not too much of a surprise because of the notes, the incense, the oud. Definitely lasts a long time though, so very good fragrance. And if you haven't checked out Kerosene, of course, I think they're a great brand. Love them. Do check them out. This is my favorite of theirs, although that does change depending on my mood. Excellent oud fragrance. The next one is the Fuji Air fragrance, and of course the most common of this is Barbershop. There's a lot of different fragrances that I would have or could have chosen, but of course I tried to, whenever possible, choose something that was in my collection, and this is one that I absolutely love, and that is Viking by Creed. This is actually my favorite Creed, so I do like this one a lot, and this is probably or maybe the only one that I will buy. This has this very classic masculine spicy barbershop vibe, but it has a hint of modernity there, so it isn't a dated feel. It is very modern. It has a nice rose touch to it, which does actually work really well in this fragrance. The rose is very classy and very masculine the way this fragrance is done. There's mint in here too, which I really enjoy because it works nicely in the sense that it clashes against all the spices, brings a cool, refreshing aspect to this fragrance. Really do enjoy this one. Performance is definitely solid. I get sillage on this one 6-8 hours after spraying it, so it does last a long time on my skin, and I do like that about it. Very good fragrance, nice, masculine, bold fragrance, and something I definitely enjoy wearing. That is Viking by Creed. The next category is floral. I am not a huge floral fan, so this is of course one that is hard to pick, and actually I don't really have too many heavy floral fragrances, and I tried to make it so that each of the ones, especially where they had a specific genre like floral, that was the dominant note. And so I don't really at this time own any. One of the ones that I thought of choosing, Reflection Man, very popular, very easy to wear, very mass appealing. It's the kind of fragrance that can get you compliments if you want it, very professional. But I think also I probably will never buy Reflection Man. It just didn't quite do it for me. One that I might buy in the future, possibly because I love the bottle. Also, the fragrance is interesting and unique from the house, and that is Rolling in Love by Kilian. Now, of course, I do think this is definitely a more unisex fragrance. It doesn't come across super manly, although generally speaking, I think most floral fragrances have a hard time doing that. It is a little bit more on the feminine side, but it has this gorgeous creamy almond, very, very heavy on the white florals as well. And it does open with what smells like a hint of cherry, candied cherry, very nice. I do actually really like that opening. So it is a really nice floral heavy fragrance that is easy to wear and is very likable. Very different from the brand, so it is a nice fragrance in that regard, and I do enjoy it. So I'll put that one here on the list, but in general, florals are not my thing, so I don't really have that many that I would choose. Believe it or not, I don't actually have a lot of fragrances that I would call particularly green. They are a popular genre of fragrance and one that works very well for men and masculinity, so I think it's a great topic to include. Of course, there's fragrances like Green Irish Tweed. I'm sure a lot of people will put that in this slot. I decided to go with something different and something that is ultra green, and that is Shiso by Nomenclature. I do actually like this fragrance. I might pick up a bottle at some point. Very bright, very, very green, especially in the opening, and it has a very modern feel to it. So it is one that actually I've seen online does not get a lot of love, and it does actually get a fair amount of hate, but I do enjoy this one. One of the things I actually really like about this fragrance is the inclusion of rhubarb as a note. It's a little bit tart, and it is unique. It's not used in tons of fragrances, although there are actually a lot of fragrances that have it. It's very, very prominent in this fragrance, and that is one of the things that I really like about it. It also has an interesting shiso note, as you would guess from the fragrance, and I do actually like this one, so I'm going to put this one in that slot. Definitely worth getting your nose on if you're looking for something green and different. The next one is musky fragrances. Musk I do like, but it's not one that I have a ton of heavy musk fragrances, and I wanted something heavy musk. And what I decided to go with was Musk Oud by Kilian. Of course, this also could have been in the oud slot. This is a fairly, or actually quite wearable oud fragrance. It does open maybe with a slight bit of a stink to it, only slight, but it does have a very beautiful and very pleasant musk heavy dry down, and I really, really enjoy it. It just smells clean, it smells beautiful and classy, and it is a really high quality fragrance. This is one I'm probably going to test out, play with a little bit more. I do have a sample of it, but I think it's one that in the future I could see also purchasing from Kilian. I think it's definitely a lot different from a lot of their other fragrances. I know I just said that about Rolling in Love, but also true with Musk Oud, and this is definitely one that people don't talk about, and I think it's a shame because it is gorgeous. For leather fragrances, of course, you probably already know I'm gonna pick Ombre Leather. Absolutely love this. Gorgeous. This is the fragrance that made me really, really love leather fragrances and really brought me into the leather dominant genre, which I definitely did not like. I tried Godolphin, also Tuscan leather before this. Although I have definitely warmed up to Tuscan leather, this is just such an easy to wear leather fragrance. It is a beautiful, nice suede with a nice, sweet touch. There was another one I was thinking of putting in this slot, which is London by Whittian. And it is definitely something that's similar to Tuscan leather. It has that raspberry and heavy leather vibe to it, but it's much more round and refined. It doesn't have any of those harsh edges that I find that Tuscan leather does have, so it is definitely a more polished version of that. However, I am definitely going to go with Ombre Leather because of the price point compared to London, and because this one is just such an easy to wear. This is what I consider the entry-level leather fragrance. If you want to try something leather that's the easiest to like, this is definitely what you want to go for. I do love putting this one on when I have my leather jacket. I think it goes really, really well. And so this is a fantastic leather fragrance. Oriental, I had to go with Spice Bomb Extreme. Honestly, there are so many, this is a large category and there's so many fragrances I could have picked. I was leaning a little bit more towards this because I wanted to have some designers on this list as well. And this is a fantastic designer fragrance. Excellent for the winter. So this is a beautiful, spicy fragrance. Opens up very, very in your face, spicy with some sweetness. As this one starts to dry down, I actually get what I like to call the Coca-Cola vibe. I definitely get that with this fragrance. So it does remind me a little bit of Coca-Cola gummies. And I think that's something in the spices mixing with the vanilla that's giving me that vibe and that scent memory. Really love that aspect of this fragrance. And then as it dries down or gets into the dry down, the spices really do take a back seat to the sweetness. So this is kind of a sweet, spicy fragrance. Opens mostly spicy, little bit of sweetness, and finishes mostly sweet with a little bit of spice. Very great fragrance for the colder weather. Good for cozying up as well. It's very sensual, and it is a fairly seductive fragrance. And I do love the bottle. Of course, has that little pin you get to pull out of it, and of course that's always a nice benefit. So Oriental Spice Bomb Extreme. The tobacco category was probably one of the hardest to choose from, and it is one that I think for me changes my favorites on a regular basis. I thought of the one EDP because that one still to this day I love it, although whether I love it more than any other ones is hard to pick. Fan Your Flames was another one, and also Side Effect. Really did think about those ones a lot, but I decided to go with the Naxos. This one absolutely blew me away the first time I smelt it. The quality, the smell, it's just so gorgeous, and it does have this beautiful honey pipe tobacco kind of a vibe to it. And it is, it is a fairly linear fragrance. I find that the way that it opens is more or less the way that it dries down and that it ends. That's not a bad thing all the time. I don't always want something complex. This smells gorgeous from start to finish. So I do really, really enjoy this one. It is a really high quality tobacco fragrance. And of course, if you don't want to spend the Xerjoff money, you can always try Pure Havane, which is very, very, very similar to this one. I can't deny the similarities. I don't think anyone actually is. A lot of people call this one the niche version of Pure Havane, but it's a fantastic fragrance and definitely was worth the pickup for me. This is also a beast mode projector. I usually only put on about 2 sprays of this one. Lasts a long time, a lot of sillage. So it is definitely there with a value as well. Now there are tons of fragrances that could be included in the woody category. I wanted something that was super, super dominant in the woods, and I decided to pick Wonderwood by Comme des Garçons. This is such a great wood fragrance because to me it smells like fresh cut wood from start to finish. There is definitely a peppery vibe there in the opening, but that does calm down and it remains for the most part a fresh cut wood vibe. So basically it kind of feels like you're walked into like a wood workshop, or you've walked into a lumber yard and there's a bunch of fresh cut 2x4s and whatever stacked right in front of you, and they're cutting wood right there as well. Beautiful, beautiful fragrance, and I do love the smell of fresh cut wood. And I don't think this one gets as much love as it probably should because it's absolutely gorgeous, stunning fragrance. And if you do like that fresh cut wood vibe, definitely check that one out. We are at my favorite category, and that category is Gourmand. And I know a lot of people were probably thinking I was going to pick something like Italica, which I did recently just get a new bottle of, or even Rosé All Day. And you know what, my favorite Gourmand changes on a pretty daily basis, to be honest with you. I have like a top 10 and they kind of rotate in first position. This is one I've definitely been appreciating more lately. That is Unknown Pleasures. This is a really, really unique gourmand in my opinion, because it starts off kind of like a lemony biscuit that reminds me of cookies I may have had at my grandmother's or those kinds of biscuits, and dries down as this beautiful, sugary waffle cone vibe. Really do like this one, and it is good value and good performance, so I do enjoy that about it. It lasts a long time, good sillage. I only need to go 2-3 sprays on this one. And this is actually probably one of my most complimented Gourmand fragrances, so there is that as well. The nice dry down on this one with the waffle cone sugar coated vibe definitely has a sensual aspect to it, which I think is crucial to a good Gourmand. There should always be that sort of very sensual feeling with it, and this definitely has that. So of course, this is a tough category for me because I love gourmands. I want to talk about something a little bit different, a little bit unexpected, but this is a fantastic fragrance. Another one from Kerosene that if you haven't got your nose on, of course, is worth trying out. Now, just because I had to add one more category, bonus category, and it is a category that I absolutely love, and that is boozy fragrances. And of course, the master of boozy fragrances, I went with a Killian fragrance. I was very tempted to pick Single Malt, which is definitely on my list of fragrances to buy. Single Malt is a gorgeous whiskey fragrance that reminds me more of a rye whiskey with a nice woody backbone than it does of an actual Scotch, which is great for me. As a Canadian, I vastly prefer rye whiskey, and it does really remind me of a high quality rye whiskey. So it's a very gorgeous and classy fragrance. But I did decide to go with none other than Straight to Heaven Extreme. This is so crazy boozy. It is absolutely amazing. If you like that really nice, classy, high quality rum smell, this has it in abundance, and it has woodiness, and it has a nice dried fruit to accompany it. Performance is also fantastic on this one. It is a limited edition, so it can be hard to get, but it is a fantastic fragrance, and if you get the chance, if you like Straight to Heaven, this one, in my opinion, in a lot of people's opinion, is much better. Anyways, guys, that's it for this one. Thank you so much, Big Beard Business, for doing this tag video series. Always fun to do these nice top pick lists, and I hope other reviewers will take part in this series. Leave a comment down below. What are some of your favorites from the genres that I mentioned? And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.